From Kansas City to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Chris Tonto Peranto.
Switch is on. Motherfucker, I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
Ian Scotto.
You know, Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battle Line Podcast.
The Switch is on, Battle Line Podcast, and episode 298.
Yeah,
We're
I
coming
know.
very close to episode 300 in just a couple shows.
I don't know who we gonna have for 300. We gotta have.
Should I tell them? I mean, I don't. Is it a huge surprise, or should I tell
No,
them?
are we going that way? The one we talked about, or
I
was
already
it-
booked the person. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Oh shit! I don't even know. Oh,
Yeah.
Is it Andre?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Did I not say that? You can beep that out.
It's up to
Harold,
you.
can
Whatever,
beep that
whatever
out
you
if
think. I
Ian
mean,
wants
we're
to.
one half of the
No,
show. If you
that's-
think the audience should know, then that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I don't mind people knowing that. I mean, because he just. I didn't know he was still fighting, and then said, "Hey,
Yeah.
he's doing bare knuckle fighting, and he won, man." What's Andre, like 70 years old now, and he's winning bare knuckle.
Is he
That
older?
dude's
Is
a
he
monster.
older than you or your age?
No, we're about the same age. I'm just giving him crap. Andre's a really, really good friend, man, but yeah, dude, I'm not getting punched in the face at 55 years old anymore.
I want to look up to see if he's like the exact same, because I'm
I
just
think he's
wondering.
the exact same, man.
He
don't-
is.
I don't know.
Let's see.
They don't.
No. He's significantly younger than you, bro.
Is he really?
Yes.
Oh well,
just looked it
that's
up.
hard living. In
Much
Belarus,
younger than you.
man. That's Belarus living right there, man.
He is 46.
He's 46.
Yes.
Oh, he's still
According
got
to
a lot.
Google.
He's in his prime, man. He's good. I mean, seriously. I mean, because you think when I left Yemen, I stopped working GRS. I was 45, and I could have still worked another 5 years easy. Now, granted, you might be getting shot at, might be wearing body armor, running around a little bit, but I'm still not getting punched in the face. Well, except when we were supposed to, because we had to do revetting all the time, whether it was through whatever flavor of the month combative training thing that we needed to do every year or two, and we'd always continue to do sustainment. I think one year it was we do ground fighting. The other one time we do CQD, which is theater close quarter defense. Another time we just would bring lines training, which we used to do in a group. And yeah, so we would always do sustainment. And then guys would always be rolling when we were downrange. So yeah, I guess you did get punched in the face, but not for real punched in. I guess, is it ever not for real when you get punched in the face? So
Yeah, I'm probably not repeatedly as much if it's a long fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not. It's training. It's getting punched everywhere, thrown around, but that's part of the training. But Andre, like I said, he's done that. Then he goes and does in a ring with bare knuckle. Isn't what he did bare knuckle?
Yeah.
Didn't he? Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's still crazy. And that just shows he's a beast. That dude's a beast.
Yeah, so, and they're getting a lot of big names, because I noticed he fought, and then Jessica I, who I remember watching Jessica I on Ultimate Fighter. I still have all those DVDs of the Ultimate Fighter, and she lives in Florida now. But every now and again, I go to UFC gym here on Long Island. Every now and again, she goes there to like teach classes. I've never done it. I don't do any MMA or anything. But like, she's pretty. I'd say like 2 or 3 times a year she comes to Long Island to train people. So
Wow.
It was cool to see her doing bare knuckles. So I was like, and I guess I'd say I'm a casual MMA fan, but the stuff that I remember is from a few years back. So it's like, those are 2 big names I remember for sure. Andre Arlovsky and Jessica I. So
And maybe that's why I really don't know any of the new MMA UFC fighters. And I remember I followed it from the get-go, from UFC 1 with Shamrock and Gracie and Chemo, and because then we had that Omaha cop that was that sub that came in, Janum was his name, that was like UFC 3. He was an alternate, and then somebody couldn't go, and he stepped in and won the championship. I mean, and that was back in the day too. Man, if you remember, you could punch in the balls, you could poke them
Oh
in
yeah,
the
the
eye.
really early
I mean,
ones.
and there was a couple fights. These guys remember, I think it was Shamrock against some Korean fighter, and he's down there just wailing on his balls because he's in a lot. That's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
There had to be major changes for it to break into the mainstream the way
of
that it
course, yeah.
has.
It
Because
was
people know or don't remember, like when Dana White bought the company, it was
it
like a
was
losing
yeah,
endeavor. And they actually weren't even, this is interesting because he's brought it up before, they weren't even able to have the events anywhere. And one of the people, and that's why they have a close relationship still, is Trump allowed them to use one of his casinos. And
that's
that's why
right.
those guys are still very tight because Trump was on board when a lot of people weren't. Actually, when there were people like John McCain trying to ban it, if you remember.
Do remember that when they were banning it, trying to
Yeah.
they were the you box they weren't boxing, but the boxing association or something was coming in and stopping them from allowing them to have events. I do remember the Trump thing because I did follow it a lot back then. And
Yeah.
Dan Severn, another one, and big. And
Yeah.
then I got to be friends with some of the fighters. Some of them went big. Some. I mean, I think they all went big. They're all if you all made it, but like Kit Cope, it's still. And he's a great shooter too. We haven't talked in a few years, but he was a friend for a while. I still consider him a friend. We don't talk as much because we're not in the same zip code. But and then guys like Andre Arlovsky, that's been around forever. So it's good to see that he's moved on, and it's good to see that maybe some of those big names still have that star power that it's like the WWE and the ECW and all that in back in the day that they're moving to other areas. And I think it only makes it better. I think it makes all the companies better because it makes them work harder to get talent. And then if you don't make the talent happy, the talent goes somewhere else and makes that genre or makes that corporation, because they are all our corporations, makes that better. But it helps. I do believe it helps the individual, and they should be helped because they're the ones getting punched in the face all the time. They
Yeah.
should be able to maximize their profits based off of their talent level, but also their recognizability. And Andre is extremely recognizable still to this day.
Yeah.
You say Arlovsky, everybody knows. I mean, that's the first thing you think of. At least that's the
Yeah.
first thing I think of when I hear
Oh,
Arlovsky.
absolutely.
I mean, maybe not Andre, but you say Arlovsky. Yeah, that guy's the king of UFC back in the day. The Russian Bear, Zangief from freaking Street Fighter. But yeah, it's good. I can't wait to have him on again just to hear him talk. And I don't know. Last time we had him on wasn't his kids. His kids were in
Yeah,
the
in the
back.
car. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same thing. But it's actually crazy to think that was 100 episodes ago. Like that just feels like a few months ago to me.
But I didn't think we'd make 100 episodes. I thought we'd
Yeah,
be done like at
300.
50, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, that actually brings me to another topic I just jotted down this morning of just a small thing to mention, but I got this email from Apple and it was celebrating the fact that Apple Podcasts, which is basically where podcasts originated,
Yeah.
is 20 years old today, the day of this recording. And that may surprise some people that podcasts were created 20 years ago. It's been going. So
Man,
it brings me back because
who
I
was
was a part of the, what were you saying?
podcast 20 years? No
20
way.
years ago.
Nah,
Yeah.
horseshit. Who's the first podcast? Do you know?
I don't know. Mark Maron was very early. I would say Mark Maron was very early, but he wasn't the first,
Has Mark
but
Maron been doing it that long too?
he just quit. He just quit recently.
Man,
Um
did he go all crazy? I mean, he has always been kind of a left
oh yeah,
wing
he always has been.
Trump hater. Yeah, Trump hater or right wing hater. I mean, I thought he was funny when he used to
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. I've
comedy.
seen him. I saw him at the Comedy Store a few years ago. But yeah, like it's interesting to me because I was a part of the radio program at Hofstra University, 2006, and then I graduated, or 2000, yeah, 2006. I graduated from Hofstra 2009, and it wasn't until like the very end of that that I remember professors and like program directors being like, "Yeah, there's this thing called podcasts that's going to take off." And I mean, the first few years, no one heard of podcasts really. It
I don't.
wasn't until like Joe Rogan and some of the bigger names really, Adam Carolla, who I know has called himself the Podfather. But yeah, to think 20 years and it's really changed the way that media is done in that a lot of the stuff I learned is sort of obsolete. I remember being taught that basically you have to broadcast to a very big audience and you want to appeal to as big of an audience as possible. And now I feel like everything is narrow casting, especially with YouTube,
Yeah.
is that they want you to fit a very specific niche. And it's definitely changed the
Do you
landscape of
do you
media.
think that I don't think that's bad. It doesn't help people like us that have a small we do. We have a small following. It's a very loyal following. We appreciate that. But it doesn't allow us, and that I think it stops people from growing unless you are in that niche that is popular right now, and that's the hate one side extreme,
I
hate
don't agree with that.
or if you go you got your rock or you've got to
Yeah,
be
and that's a
pinpointed in it.
very, very specific
Yeah,
niche. And I've noticed, like, dude, just talking about Kiss, which is definitely not political. I mean, it's
but
catching on.
you go, it gives you a right and left limit, and you have to stay in there, and there's no way to get
Yes.
outside of that right
Yes.
and left limit. And with, and to be honest, with our pod, we really don't have I mean, a right and left limit. Veterans, I guess you could say, but
Yeah.
we are we more right leaning? Well, I know I am. I know you are. You are. We're not left leaning very much at all. But we also, if Trump does something stupid, we're going to say it on the show, and that I think it hurts us, to be quite honest. I think we have this limit that we're staying that they put us in, which is politically right leaning, which we generally are, but we're not to the extreme, which that's what gets the numbers when you're put in that particular category, which is what I believe we've been put into.
Yeah, it's just being honest. I don't know
No,
if
I
I would
mean,
agree
yeah,
because we're not really a political show.
well, we're
So
not.
we
That's
so
that's
we don't really get uh compete with those types of channels. I think we're competing with like the Team Room, right? Another non-political show. So I would say like we're in the niche of the
so. Where
Team
are we?
Room,
Yeah.
Afterburn podcast, Sean Ryan, you
Well,
know,
is Sean is I mean Sean is in a
Sean does
political
some politics for sure,
he's
but
in
I
an
think like the
Alex
episodes
Jones.
like with you.
Well, but he's in an Alex Jones sort of
Yeah.
we'll give the Alex Jones perimeter. I mean
Yeah.
parameters, the right and left limits, and there's nothing wrong. Both you and I both like Alex.
Oh yeah.
Sean is a very good friend. Sean is awesome. I've nothing, no, I have nothing bad to say about Sean at all. And that was before I even went on the show. And him and I have been friends before that. So, but I think it has hurt us a little bit is because we don't, we fit a niche, but not all the time. I don't know how else to say it, but I know. And the reason being I say that is because if I was more outspoken like I used to be, I mean, yeah, I saw the numbers. Wow, bam, everywhere when I was a dick. I just put it simply because that's what people wanted, and they come here, and I mean, I am sometimes, but not like I was. Not just being an ass just to be an ass because that gets followers, and that's how I was initially, and you saw part of me at the end of that, and that wasn't bad, but I do think it hurts us a bit, but that's okay because I want to keep what we want to do, and that's we've always at least kept it true. This is what we're going to do. Hopefully we get followers. If we don't, we get listeners. We have had some great episodes. Some of them haven't done so well, and some of the best episodes I think we've done are ones which haven't got as many listens as ones that I didn't think did as well. But
Yeah.
I think I don't know. Maybe that's also something you do find in the industry as well. You always feel I've heard that story on many documentaries or listening to guys that the singers, musicians that say, "Man, this song was awesome," and didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And then they did a catchy tune and it blew up. And that's kind of where I'm getting at. It's like, man, these episodes that were amazing. Like I still think one of the best episodes we had was the our Marine buddy that goes and cleans
Oh
the
yeah,
tombstones.
yeah. Now I'm trying to
I
remember
know
his name.
his name.
Myers, Bobby Myers.
See, he's awesome. He's got 300 episodes almost, and I can't remember. But how many did that get? And then we've had another
Yeah.
one that compared to another one that maybe was just more
I,
commercially driven, and it
I
did
mean,
extremely well.
one of our biggest video of a clip at least is Kirk Spradley.
Bradley, yeah.
And I mean, I've said this before. Truthfully, what hurts us is we're on Zoom. And the Kirk Spradley thing is very indicative
No,
of
you're
that
right. You're
because
right. You're right.
if we could be in studio, like I tune out of stuff that's Zoom, and I think a lot of the audience is like that. I think this was just being honest, right, to the audience.
No,
Like
no,
I think
we've had
this was
discussion.
appealing during the pandemic, and then I think once the pandemic was over, people were like, okay, enough Zoom.
No,
Let's
you're
have
right.
people in studio together. And that's
I've
why
said,
with Ian Scott Rocks, I'm not doing any Zoom. I've been offered so many interviews via Zoom, and I'm like, not doing Zoom. If you want to do something in person, I've got the equipment
no,
for it.
and
So
that's fair, and you're right. I think we've always been a better audio podcast as it is. And that also again hurts us as well because you're right. The production quality of podcasts now, like yourself, people do put more effort into the production of it, and that's great. No, there's nothing
yeah,
wrong with
and
that.
which we have the best. Truthfully, we have the best video editor, man.
No,
Harold is so great at
he's,
finding
he
anything
is.
we're talking about. He finds.
No, he puts stuff. He makes it fantastic. But I've seen that too in the pod. I've watched as the podcasts have grown and more have come about. The majority of them are in studio, and
Yeah,
that's the reason why they are easier on the eyes. They are
yeah.
easier to. I know you just feel like you do feel like you're watching a old newscast, and that's what
And
people
also you
want
can't
nowadays.
replicate the feeling of being in studio with someone like when Kirk was there for me or when I mean even of course when Pablo Schreiber to me it's like wow this is awesome.
I,
And to
yeah,
me this will always be sub part of that to
it's it
me.
is. But and I feel I'm being in studio, doing a lot of in studio interviews. I can tell you the same way. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But and that's the
But it's
thing
just
that
not
sucks about
possible.
about being him and I being Ian and I being so far apart is that
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen often. And it's tough for you to get to the city or if we even people want to fly into the city to do it. I mean it's the logistics are extremely difficult. So kudos to all you that do those things that continually put those out because the logistics are a complete nightmare, and be able to pull it off is great. You should be doing well if you're because you're putting a lot more work behind the scenes than people see. And
Yeah.
I
I mean
mean,
like the guys at the team house I think do an awesome job.
no, Jack's good. No, Jack knows him and Brandon. I would say you can hate soft rep all you want, but to me, they were the forefathers of military podcasts. In my opinion, they're the ones that made it huge. I'm not saying podcasts. I'm saying military
Yeah.
theme podcasts. It was soft rep or it was nothing. And so Jack and Brandon both, and yourself, you got into it too. You guys made it to you guys learned what was good, what was bad, and you made it to what thing you see now. It's when you see in studio podcasts or you hear something on you hear something on a podcast, Apple podcast. Really, guys, you may disagree. I don't care if you disagree with me, you're wrong. You're hearing soft rep. You're hearing bases of soft rep because it all started there and it was very, very good. And personality differences, that's really why it imploded more than anything. But they
I think
were the ones,
business
and we
bad
still
business decisions if
in
I'm going to be
business
honest.
that's Ian could talk on that. I'm
It's
not.
the truth.
I like both Jack and Brandon. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
going to
me
get into
too. Me
anything
too.
on that. But in my opinion, that's not my opinion. It's the damn truth. All podcasts, military themed podcasts today, have roots from soft rep. Hate it or like it, they do. And soft rep because soft rep was way ahead of its time before. Soft rep could compete now if it was still the beginning of what soft rep was when Brandon and Jack started. That's how good it was. And
Yeah.
that's why it blew up. And that's why Brandon was able to buy 8 planes. Now, I don't, I'm kidding. I don't know. But also, all Jack has done is Jack's smart. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He just replicated it, made it the team house, and he found a wonderful partner in Ranger
Yeah,
Park. They don't always agree, but they mesh. Kind of like you.
sure.
We don't always agree, but there's just something that we mesh and it works.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I love that the team house is doing well, and I love that two former Rangers are doing well. And I don't agree with them all the time on issues. So what? They're doing well and they do an excellent job. But full circle, it's all because of soft rep. And Jack will disagree. Well, Jack shouldn't disagree because he was soft rep. He is soft rep, good or bad, he is. But that I'm saying on the positives of soft rep, how well and how good military podcasts are, is because of how good you guys did, especially when that was all there was. But really, that's all we needed because it was excellent. Hate it or like it was excellent production, and they did a good job working together. So yeah, so I'm just giving kudos out to those guys because I do. I have a
Yeah,
lot of respect for them. And then being with Dwyer when Drew was with them over there, I
of
got to
course.
work with Drew intimately on some of the other stuff they did, the Crate Club, And man, and then going to Hurricane Studios and being, I mean, how many times I did a lot of interviews there, Hurricane Studios. It was awesome, dude. You guys had a great thing going, and it sucked that it just kind of fizzled out. But I get with the finances and business decisions. I've been there too. And sometimes that it just things run its course. And that's just it seems like that's what happened.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, there still is a sofrep.com. So like I don't want to talk about it. And there
Yeah,
still is a
yeah,
Sofrep radio.
no,
So I
there's
don't want
nothing
to talk
wrong
about
with
it
it.
like it's completely extinct, but I know what you mean. And yeah, I agree with that. And everything kind of comes from something. I mean, people will say like Joe Rogan is a pioneer, but if you listen to Rogan, he'll always say if it wasn't for Opie and Anthony, there's no way I could have done
It's,
this. Says Opie and
yeah,
Anthony inspired so many people. And then if they're honest, they'll also say if it wasn't for Howard Stern,
Howard
we wouldn't be
Stern.
doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, he has his influences. So it all kind of everything kind of evolves from somewhere, I would say.
It did.
Um,
It did. It did.
yeah.
You did, and it's still evolving. And like that's what we're talking about. It's still evolving.
Yeah,
Podcasts are
it
no
really is
longer.
because of AI. It's like that's the new evolution of everything. And with, like I said, doing my other channel, I've realized like the AI can now direct exactly the audience that you want to your videos. So I think that's kind of cool. Although I'm, very critical of AI, I at least like that component. I do like the fact that you could go on YouTube and they're going to find your exact audience and they're going to drive them to your product. And as long as what you're doing is quality, it's going to do well. So yeah, I've been very, I guess, bullish on YouTube, I would say. Which is not as much Apple Podcasts, but like YouTube, I think is going to continue to be the future. I really like what YouTube is doing.
I am more of an old school Paul Harvey. Listen on the radio when I'm driving. I don't watch podcasts at all, ever. I'll listen to them when I'm driving because that's when they're entertaining. I really don't care if it's in studio or not. I don't want to watch two people talk. I love listening to them, and I'll do that all day. But that just says I'm a dinosaur, is what it's telling everybody, but that's okay because we all get older, and just like anybody else, the generations before me, I'm sure I did stuff that damn young whippersnappers changing the world, and I don't like the way the world's. Well, I'm in that point right now. I'm like, man, I don't like where it's going. Not that it's bad. It's just I like this, so I want to stay here. So I understand getting older, and I understand that the podcasts and the things are changing and things are being different and they're getting visually better. But to me, I still just love turning on the radio and listening to it. Feels like old AM radio when I was listening with my mom and dad and Paul Harvey, Have a Good Day, and even the other stuff that was coming out there, and Opie and Anthony, listening to those guys, man, when it was just serious, when it was just when satellite radio was just coming about. I'm like, you can say that on satellite radio? Holy
That was a
shit.
huge change too. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were. I mean, I still love those guys, and I still love the story that you told me about the Howard. That was a Howard Stern
Yeah,
one,
that's on
and,
YouTube. Yeah,
and now
of
they're back. And
Howard.
I totally agree with him. I wish they would have crushed his nuts because it just sounds like Howard was such a pussy, and Opie and Anthony would just push him, and he wouldn't. It would let other people like a pussy would just fight his battles for him, and or Opie and Anthony just wanted to kick his ass, and they would have too. It wouldn't have taken both of me. It would take Opie or Anthony. But I love those guys because that was at least listen on fact when faction was getting good.
Yeah, I mean, well, they had so many years on AM FM
AMF
radio,
from
and
yeah.
then when XM and Sirius were separate, they were on XM, and then they had their own channel on Sirius XM when they merged the Virus. If you remember that, yeah,
That's right. That's right. They are still. I mean, I still listen to some of their rerun, some of their old stuff, or it'll pop on when I'm listening to Sirius because
yeah.
that's all I do on my computer too when I'm working. Just turn on Sirius and put something in, and an old episode will come on. And yeah,
Well,
they
not
are, man.
theirs
It's
anymore, but on YouTube you'll find them.
well, if I said I'm not a big YouTube guy. I really
Yeah,
not.
but I'm just
I
saying
just
they're not. I mean, Opie is literally banned from Sirius, so you're never going to hear his voice on there
so
again.
that's the only place you're gonna
Yeah,
hear him.
YouTube,
Yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube, or what's that other one that came about for a while that Russell Brand was on and made kind of popular for a while, and then
I
it
know
kind of
Rumble, yeah, is
Rumble.
around. People have asked us about that, but it's such a pain to upload to a whole new platform. and probably get paid less than we do from YouTube. So I just don't see the point. But
Yeah, and I don't know any of that. Hey man, I'm happy with anything.
yeah,
We never, that's what we did this, and I know, there was thoughts of making a little bit of money off, but I never really thought this would be an income thing. I just wanted to do it just to do it, like anything else. And I mean, great, it has become a little bit, at times very well, sometimes not, which is great. It's all to me, it's all gravy. But initially, it was just to see if we could do it, and
yeah,
like we were
yeah.
talking
And to
about.
me, just to interview the people we have is awesome.
And we've
So
got some great, man. I'll go
yeah,
back to our guest list. Like, damn, we got some pretty heavy
yeah,
hitter guests there, guests there. And it's just one. Everyone comes on just talks, and I love that. And I think most of them feel comfortable. They can just say, "We've had a lot. This is the first time." They say, "This is the first
yeah,
time I'm going to say this."
sure,
And to me, that says a lot for the podcast. It says like that they feel comfortable enough that they know we're not trying to gotcha. We just want to hear your story, man. And I really am happy that we were able to do that, where people come on and just talk. I don't think Britt Lightning's probably said a lot of things she said on our show, which was awesome. She just was very open, and she's
yeah.
just cool. She's a cool chick, man. She's freaking,
And that got
and she
picked up
crushes it.
everywhere because of the whole like singer change.
Oh, and that was huge. And and
Yeah.
then the System of a Down drummer, that was awesome.
That's the biggest in terms of news, that's the biggest show we've ever done because I mean I remember it got picked up by like Mexican news, it got picked up by like
And I
Europe.
love that
It
guy.
was
He's freaking.
everywhere and it was so candid. You know, I it's when he talked about the whole surge thing, I was like, holy shit, I have gold here. I knew I did. And now
Dude,
if you go to System of a Down's Wikipedia, it mentions Battle Line Podcast because that was like a pivotal statement that he made
you-
for people who don't like it was the first statement made about like why haven't you guys made music in 20 years?
and it was again, it was awesome. To me, it was kind of blew my mind. And I couldn't believe that he was, not that he said anything, but that it was that, be honest, it was that big a
Yeah.
deal. Because it was, to me, it was, this dude's just, what, and tell me, what's his, why am I forgetting his name?
John Dolmayan.
Dolmeyer. Yeah. I like, why is it, he's just being honest. I love it. This dude's just being honest. And then I was like, wow, it blew up. And I didn't understand why it would, because it's an honest answer. And it wasn't anything more than just, yeah, we just we're going our separate way. Well, it was more than that, but listen to the episode, guys. You'll hear it. But it wasn't very vindictive. It wasn't this guy's a douchebag. It
No,
wasn't
because they're
just,
family members.
yeah.
It's one of them is brother-in-law, something like that. I'd have to look at the exact, but they're literally family members beyond being, bandmates.
Bandmates. Yeah,
And they're
bandmates.
also all Armenian dudes. So there's a very close bond there.
He sounded like it. Well, anyway, man. I'm kind of beating a dead horse with that. I am very appreciative because hitting 300, I didn't think we'd make. And I mean, I didn't set that on the calendar. Let's hit 300. It's just,
Yeah.
and then we talked about how many years, 5 years. I
Six.
didn't
Yeah,
think-
it's gonna be 6 in November.
6. That's just crazy. So we'll keep trucking until Ian says we're not gonna do it anymore. I've always been with Ian. It's like, man, whenever you want. I'm having fun. But if it comes down to it that we need to cut the episodes, or because I got a life too outside of
Yeah,
this,
of course.
luckily, that we will. But in the meantime, we'll just keep trucking along and hopefully get Andre on and coming up here soon. Harold, if
Yeah,
you need to
that'll-
beep that, beep that.
No, of course. I mean, whatever. He's been on the show twice before, so.
But,
Um,
But yeah, let's get into some news stuff.
oh, yeah.
Man.
Well, I actually want to mention one other thing real quick
go ahead,
because
go
I
ahead.
wrote it down. And it actually ties into what you said. Like speaking of guests we've had on that made news, and this was another one I did solo, but it just came to me actually the other day, and that's why I jotted this down. When I had Evan Seinfeld on about a year and a half ago from Biohazard, and that made some news, but I asked him, is Biohazard working on any new material? And he was like, yes, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear it. And they just put out the latest song from, I guess, their upcoming album, but it's called Forsaken. And I wasn't sure. I was like, maybe this will be good, maybe it won't. I mean, it's been years since they put out new music. And I was like, this is awesome. Genuinely, I was like, this is great.
Really?
It reminded me, if any of you guys in the audience, because I know the audience, there's a lot of hardcore people, metal people. If any of you are fans of Sworn Enemy, it reminded me very much of Sworn Enemy, which is, I guess, ironic because Sworn Enemy is a band that was very influenced by Biohazard. You know, they came before them. But to me, this song reminds me of Sworn Enemy. So yeah, check out Forsaken. And it was just great talking with Evan a bit, like I said, about a year and a half ago, and him being like, I'm really excited for you to hear this. And the thing that also stands out to me is like Evan was extremely candid about his life. I mean, this is a guy who is now running like a men's health advocacy group, you could say, with
Yeah.
mentorship. But he's also a guy who, let's be honest, like he spoke about it candidly, he was like working in the porn industry. And that's sort of like the antithesis of like a healthy men's lifestyle. And I could tell he's now in a much better place, living in Mexico, like have you know working on his book, being a positive male mentor, and having other positive men around him that kind of mentor him. And so I was even wondering, like, is Biohazard going to have that same edge and aggressiveness? Because is he just like enjoying life in Tulum? And what are you angry about? And I'm happy to say, I guess, because I like it is a very aggressive song. And that's the same thing I wondered when I had Frankie Palmieri on the show, like one of the earliest episodes from Amur. And I've known that guy for years. And you could tell in recent years, he is in a much better place than he was years ago. And he talks about that all of those songs kind of came from someone who was experiencing a lot of trauma and that it doesn't reflect him as much
Yeah.
anymore. And I remember before the latest album came out, because this was years ago, Hindsight came out in 2020, and it was like, is this still going to be an aggressive, angry Amur album? And he's like, oh yeah, like I could still go back to that place. And it is. And I know now, like 6 years later, they're working on another album, and like as good of a place as he is in, I could tell it's still going to have that edge. So yeah, check out the new Biohazard. I liked it a lot.
You know, and I think if you're in the porn industry and then you're trying to get your life back, you're going to be angry a lot because you're going to be fighting. You're going to be fighting one side. You're probably trying to escape to be on this side, and you're. Believe me, I've been there. Not in the porn industry. I guys never been in the porn industry.
Yeah, people
No
are
way do I.
Googling.
I don't have the toolkit to be in the
Oh,
porn
I
industry.
gotta say something in terms of that, because do you remember when we came up with the switches on, which you came up with,
Yeah.
and then I Googled it and I was like, Chris, the switches on is apparently the name of a gay porn movie.
That's right. I remember. I remember that, but we kept it because we're not scared. We ain't scared of shit. We did it anyway, and none of y'all caught that. We could have been trolled all for the last 60 years with that. Nobody caught it. So don't worry about it, guys. But if you're in a bad place and you're trying to fight to get out of that bad place to get to a place that you feel is good, you're going to have those. You're still going to have a lot of anger. I did a lot of anger because you're trying to get away from it. It just keeps pulling you back. And so I mean, it doesn't surprise me if he's still got a lot in there. I'm sure he's still got a lot of emotion, but it's good that he's doing what he's doing. He's trying to, damn it. Sorry, I hit the microphone.
No, you're good.
He's trying to write himself, and all you can do is try every day. Just get up and try to write yourself. And what you think is to writing yourself. I'm not going to tell you because I'm a sinner too. I ain't gonna tell you what's right and wrong. I know what's right for me to get in a good place. But it sounds like he's trying to do that. But it's also, I'm glad that I hope the song is successful because that will help with his psyche. It'll make sure that he keeps going down that great road. But yeah, but I mean, I don't think I was on that interview when you had him on. Was I on that?
No.
Yeah,
And
I don't
I
know.
feel like well, the band is doing well because just people are glad to see them back on the road.
Sure.
But I feel like whether the song does great or doesn't do great, I think he's in a great place, and I think
And
it's because with a advocacy group like that, as he mentioned on that show, and definitely go back and listen to that one if you haven't. But you know how he talked about, because we talk about veteran suicide on here a lot, but the fact that like I believe it's like 75% of suicides are men, you
Yeah.
know, and he's like, you know, and not just male veterans, just men in
Men.
general,
Yeah.
man. And
Yeah.
there's been some recently, like I reported on it on my other channel, and it was pretty cool that his mom responded. But one of the singers for that group, Dropout Kings, just committed suicide, you know, and crazily enough, the Dropout Kings had a song about called Virus, about how male suicide is like a virus. And sure enough, this guy ended up doing that. So I just think if you're doing what he's doing, trying to advocate that there's hope, I think he's definitely outdoing any of the negative he put out
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and he's
I
doing a lot
agree.
of positive.
I agree.
Anyway, with that, as you said, get into some news here, and it's interesting. Sometimes I feel like I'm more on top of what's going on. You're more on top of what's going on. Hey guys, hope you're enjoying. I'm usually like this interview with someone, but we're not interviewing anybody. So hopefully you're enjoying us just speaking about whatever. We
We're
cover
just
a few
shooting the
different
crap
topics
like we
here.
do on this show. That's all we do. We just shoot the crap like we're sitting around a campfire. That's our genre. We're in the
Yeah.
campfire genre. That's it right there.
Absolutely, guys. And anyone who listens to this show knows we're a big advocate of the Second Amendment. We have the
Yeah.
best ammo sponsor on the market. So Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact TUI and soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, but you'll get the best deal through us when you go to fsm.com and you use the promo code BattleLine. That's fsm.com, promo code BattleLine. That'll get you 15% off most stuff on the site. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. FSM.com, promo code Battleline, one word. Link for that is in the description. And now let's get back to our episode. On a day like today, where I do the news for Salem, I have been like sort of on top of it. But yeah, the situation in Iran, I saw that Pete Hegseth, and I reported on that Pete Hegseth on Salem had that news conference today, and also talking about that he believes we took out some major targets, although the media is not framing it that way. Yeah, what do you want to say about it? What's your
You
take?
see you see the flyovers, you see the schematics anymore. I think they did. If if they didn't take out any targets, I don't think or any good targets, there wouldn't have been a ceasefire. I hate. I mean, I know everybody loves Trump, but just because he said, "Hey, ceasefire, you guys," they're not just going to ceasefire because he said it. There's got to be something behind. And being, working in the foreign policy industry on the ground, I can tell you that, yeah, fighting against terrorism and fighting against Hamas-backed groups or Hezbollah-backed groups or Al Qaeda or whoever, they don't just come to the ceasefire table just because you ask them. You got to punch them in the mouth. And that's what happened. And we've been saying that every veteran will say that has fought in the global war on terror. These guys just don't do it because you ask them to. And they don't do it because you give them money. In fact, money, all that does is they just take your money, then they go to the other side, they take more money. We just say, give them a plan. What's the plan? We're going to go give them more plan, which it was a joke when I was with the agency.
Yeah.
We're going to go give them more money. And then they would take that money and then they go to the Iranians and take money. And it was vice versa. It was silly. The only way they really understand and stop the shenanigans, which Iran getting nuclear weapons is shenanigans, guys. It's ridiculous. There's no reason they don't need it. There's no reason they need any. Is getting punched in the mouth, and that's what happened. That's my opinion, and the media can frame it any way they want. But the end state was there was a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, and that wouldn't have happened. My opinion wouldn't happen without some of their nuclear capabilities. Not all of it, because I don't think you ever can get all of it. I really don't, unless you nuke the nuke site, which is not going to happen because I don't want World War III. I
Yeah.
like my life. I like my kids' life, but hammering the nuclear facilities and destroying them, definitely that's what brings them to the table. So any of the media that says, "Oh well, they didn't get what they barely did anything," horseshit. You're first of all either check which side they're voting for, so that usually will tell you where that's coming from. Also, then did they really do their due diligence, and also have they been on the ground fighting ever and seen this happen, where dictators or mullahs or whoever on the opposite side that fighting against the Americans or fighting against Western values, when have they ever come to the table just because you asked them to? Never. They come to the table when they're getting their asses handed to them. And that's when it happens. And that's what I saw happening. I saw Israel handing them their ass. And then I saw the Americans come in, and which was what we do. We come in first, we drop a few of huge fucking bombs because we got a lot of them. And then we say, don't, what are you going to do? Or do you really want this fight? And that's what I saw. I'm like, do you want this fight? Because if you want it, we're going to get in it. And they didn't, and I don't blame them. And I'm glad there's a ceasefire. I don't want to see any more wars. So don't think that I'm a warmonger by any means. I'm not. I was there ready and going, damn it, man. I don't want to be a part of another war. You know, I don't want my son to be a part of another war. I've been through it. I don't. And you would think that a guy like myself would be all for, oh, about aren't you? Let's go kick some ass. No. But the only way you can stop these sort of things with these extremist countries and extremist groups is you have to punch them in the mouth. That is the only thing they learn from. Um, the years from when was it over from Obama, and then I don't think Trump really did. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Ian. A lot when he was first for his first term as president, but then Biden, and even before that with Bush, we were always placating the Iranians and giving them money. And I seen pallets of money. I was part of that pallets of money going to the Iranians to stop their program. Stop your program, we'll give you some more money. Well, they're just using that money to make their program even stronger. And I saw that was part of that for years. And I'm glad there's a ceasefire, but I'm also glad as hell that they bombed the shit out of those facilities. Because Iran having a nuclear weapon, guys, they'll use it. They will. And for all you haters that think I'm lying, well, I hope we never find out, because I don't want to be wrong, and I definitely don't want to be right. So I'm glad, but I am. I'm glad, and I think the intention of what took place, it had its effect. And I think if I was in Trump's shoes or Hegseth's shoes, I think they're going, yep, we did the right thing. And I think they did. But it's tough. It's war, dude, because who knows? Who knows if we would have dropped those bombs and Russia would have sent some ballistic missiles into the US. And I saw there was I don't know if you saw it. I saw some media, or I saw, not media, I saw a report that they moved the Doomsday Bird to DC before they bombed. And there was
Okay.
a report on that. The Doomsday Bird was in Offutt. It was in Omaha. They had two of them. Those Doomsday Birds are for the president if there's ever a nuclear war. If he can't get underground to get in that bird, and they come up top, and they can survive up there, and they can, and the SecDef, and they can do their war up. So when I saw that, I'll be quite honest, I didn't say nothing to nobody. Others may have saw it, they may not. But when they said the Doomsday Bird has been moved to DC, I ain't gonna lie, my butt cheeks puckered. Like, holy shit. Because that's not a good sign. I didn't say a word to my family. I didn't say a word to anybody, because what's that going to do but cause panic? But to me, that was not that. To me, that's a bad sign. That means, wow. And I think they were prepping. I think the bombs they were prepping to see, okay, if these bombs hit, do what they say, is one of Iran's allies that has nuclear war. It's Pakistan. I don't know if they're much of an ally, but they went to bat for them after they got bombed. So, is Pakistan or is Russia going to shoot some warheads into the U.S.? It's particularly the East Coast, which is where they would hit first. They'd hit the East Coast first. So I was a little concerned, but it didn't happen, and I hope it doesn't happen. But in the end, looking back now, hindsight's always 2020. I think it was the right call, because it did stop the fighting, and Israel and Iran just killing each other. That will lead, and nobody steps in to stop that. That will lead to a World War III too. World War III as well, not two. World War III too. World War
Yeah,
III.
yeah, no, I know what you mean. I was gonna say, man, but the thing that was pretty shocking to some people after all this went down, or at least what was supposed to be the ceasefire earlier this week, when Trump said he was pissed at Israel, where he said he was pissed at them dropping more bombs after a ceasefire,
Well, yeah.
and where he said, I mean, you probably saw, I mean, very in these words, he said these two countries don't know what the fuck they're doing. He said they've been fighting for so long. And I think I don't know, especially people who say, oh, Trump is like in the pocket of Israel. I mean, he's been very candid that he's not happy
He's
about the
not.
situation on either side. And I do think that needs to be said. I do think Netanyahu is as much of a hawk as it gets,
I
and that
agree.
is
And I
not
agree.
going to lead to peace. I like, dude, I'm a Zionist. I'm an advocate for the, preservation of Israel, obviously, but I'm very critical of Netanyahu, and
Well,
I do think. Yeah, Trump saying that he was pissed at them, I thought came from a very genuine place.
and by saying that he's to me he's no longer where the argument that they have that he's in Netanyahu's pocket, that he's Netanyahu's little bitch boy. That's no, he's not, guys, at all. I think Netanyahu wishes he was, because you're
Of
right. It's
course.
like stopping those two little people from fighting. You walk in, you stop it, it's all good, and then that one side comes over and hits him again just to get that last lick in. And that's bullshit, dude. So I don't I'm hey guys, I've never been shot at by any Israelis that I know of. So if I was asked to take a side, I would take Israel's side. I would. And I've met some of their IDF guys. I know some of them from downrange here, and they've always been very cordial to me as well. Very, and um, Hamas. There's reports that Hamas was part of our attack in Benghazi, that they had some responsibility of that, and now also in other places where I fought, whether it was Iraq or Afghanistan.
And well, also needless to say, they also kidnapped many American hostages on October
Exactly.
7th.
Yeah. And so,
People going
but
to a music festival.
and that was yeah. Seriously, that's a bunch of weenies. But how I do agree with you on the Netanyahu thing. I think the dude needs to. I mean, you won. Back the hell off. Get it. You don't need to keep punching them anymore. It's done. It's empty. It's ended. Let's work now that everything's calmed down. Let's work this out, because if it inflames again, it's going to take more than just a few bombs to stop it. And yeah, I don't want a World War III. I don't want any more wars. Um, if I had to go fight in one, well, I'm healed up. I probably couldn't carry a heavier ruck as I used to. I can't run as fast, but if I had to, I would. But I don't want to. I want to be at home, and I think majority. That's what the beauty of living in the United States is if you're not in the service, that we don't have to worry about war except amongst ourselves, because sometimes we're a bunch of idiots. But we don't have to worry about foreign invasion. We don't. Well, the border, and when we get hammered here and there's a coordinated attack and they take over and blow up a whole city block. Okay, but you're right. We do have illegals here. We got to stop that. It's getting done. But we don't have to worry like Israel. We're going to get rained, or even on the other side where missiles are going to rain in when you're out at the cafe having a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And if you have not lived in that, you don't understand. And that's one blessing I do have that I did. And that's one thing I did enjoy about working in particularly Baghdad during the time I was there, and Kabul during the time, Kandahar the time I was there, even portions of Libya. I was able to go out and live on the economy, and be out there and go to the restaurants, and go to the go have a cup of coffee, go to a French bakery and get pastries, and then all of a sudden a mortar hits right nearby. It's like, man, I'm just going out to have a cup of coffee and I about died. Can you imagine? I'm gonna do that months at a time. We have people that have done it for years, and you don't. And right now it's stopped. We've ended it. As far as
Yeah,
for
we'll
the time
see.
being, for the time being.
Yeah.
So now, why do you want to start that shit again? Or maybe it's because you live in an armored house that you don't have to worry about it. But what about everybody else on the
Yeah, I
street?
think it has to do with, I mean, truthfully, it probably has to do with the more right-wing Israeli viewpoint of that this should be all of ours, right? And there should be no Palestinians living
So
here.
is that ethnic?
And
So is that ethnic cleansing then?
if that were to happen at that point, but I think people, even people we've had on the show, someone like Doron Kidar would say, right, that this is our land, and that's
Yeah,
always going to
yeah,
be an
yeah.
argument, and Palestinians are going to say, from the land to the sea, Palestine will be free, which means this is going to be completely our land. And I think there is just an absence of a leader like Yitzhak Rabin, who was assassinated, who was willing to make compromise. I don't think any of these leaders in the Middle East are willing to make a
I agree. No,
compromise.
they're not. They're right.
So, I wish there was a leader like Yitzhak Rabin still who would be willing to fight for peace. And he was the guy who famously said, you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with very bitter enemies. And truthfully, was assassinated by a Netanyahu supporter. I think just about 30 years ago to just
Yeah.
almost to this day. I mean, I could look it up, but it's kind of the reason why I think the younger generation doesn't believe there can be peace. Yeah, I mean, literally almost to this day, assassinated November 4th, 1995 in Israel, and I think it's why like the younger generation, the generation currently serving in Israel, don't believe there can be any peace because they haven't lived with a leader like that. And anytime there has been a tragedy like a November,
Yeah.
tragedy like we had in Israel, I do think Netanyahu uses that to his advantage because I'm going to say prior to October 7th, there were huge rallies to get him out of power. And then October 7th happens, and as the leader, you're able to kind of stay in power because of a war going on.
Would
Yeah,
would
I
he
mean, I
have
just
would conspiracy theorists here? Would he have done that too? Would he have
I think that
helped
would be very
facilitate
fun. I
that?
mean, I don't think he would allow, all these citizens to be kidnapped and raped and killed. No, I'm not a fan of the guy, but I wouldn't go that far.
You know more about him than I do.
Yeah,
I
but
know you don't
I
know,
mean, come on. What leader would allow that to happen,
and that's I'm just playing conspiracy, and
Yeah.
I
I mean, I'm
don't
not a
think so.
fan of the guy. I think he uses these, we used many things to our advantage, right? And I say we, the government. It's funny because I think of what's his name, and I don't agree with much what he says, but he is hilarious. Kurt Metzger, who was on Alex Jones and recently on Joe Rogan. I don't agree with him on anything regarding foreign policy, but he's hilarious. But the thing that he said that's very funny, and I'm just thinking because I said we, is he said all these movies you see about like environmentalism and the horrible stuff that, America has done or whatever. He's like the message is always like because you people live here, did all this terrible things to Mother Earth, and now you're gonna pay. And he was just like, dude, I'm just literally like trying to hang out in my apartment right now. Like I'm not in the government. I'm not making all of these horrible decisions. So like when I say we, yeah, like the US has done, the US has used wars to their advantage to get oil out of other countries. And, so I don't think
Well,
Netanyahu is probably any different than a George Bush in that sense.
it's just a
But,
happy
it's the same
It's
thing as
just
people
that
will say, did George Bush allow 9/11 to happen? No, I don't believe. But was it used to him and Cheney's advantage? Yes.
yeah. No, you're.
That's what I believe. I mean, I'm sure there's people in our audience who feel differently, but
Uh,
I'm really not a hardcore conspiracy guy.
I mean, I'm not either. I was just trying to channel my best Joe Rogan there. Alex Jones, Joe Rogan. Do you think? But yeah, but I'm with you. It just seems like, and we've been saying this for years, and I've been asked this at speaking events what my thought is, and it's always the same that I answer just like you answer. So these two countries or these proxies or whoever, Israel they've been fighting for years.
They
Is
have,
it
but
going to
once
end?
again, anyone who's old enough to like remember 1995, there was a time where I think peace, probably the one thing Bill Clinton did that I think will always be great, the fact that he got Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin to meet, to
Yeah.
shake hands, to make peace, and it was a Israeli extremist who murdered, assassinated
Yeah.
Yitzhak Rabin. And Yitzhak Rabin was a guy who, although he was called like a Nazi and stuff, this is a guy who fought for Israel. This is a guy who was a war veteran. And people were like, why are you negotiating with the Palestinians? And yeah, he believed in peace. And I don't think we have leaders, at least there, who believe in peace
We
right
were
now.
able to, well, maybe one of these days, but I'm with you. I
I don't
don't
know if it
foresee it.
is. It's funny. I don't know if it is one of these days at this point because I've heard people say this as well, and this is just true. Let's say that you did give Palestine more power, right? And you did let them have, at this point, it would be a total terrorist state because, like, that's the population there right now. The
I
population are terrorist sympathizers or terrorists at this point. There really are no um, moderates there anymore.
And you're
Maybe
right.
there was
No,
20
no,
years ago, you know?
that's being overseas again and seeing it is that again, go on the plan. You get more money. Stop being terrorists. Start living democracy. Here's some more. Here's some money. It doesn't go to democracy. It goes to being a stronger terrorist, having more weapon systems, having more capabilities. And you're right. No, you're spot on. It's we bashed Netanyahu a little bit, but it's not just him. It's the other sides too. Got to have compromise, and they won't have any compromise
No,
as well.
definitely
And
not.
they never
I
will.
mean, it's
Guys,
in
and I've
Hamas's
seen that. It
charter.
just won't happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's in Hamas's charter that, Israel can't exist. So,
Yeah. Well, I hope it's going to reset, and then hopefully it takes another 50, 60 years to build back up to this
yeah, if it's
again,
not,
where it comes
and
down
here's
to.
the other thing, right? If it's not literally blown off the map, because people forget that Israel is the size of New
I know.
Jersey. This is a tiny, tiny piece of land in the grand scheme of things. It would be very easy for it literally to be wiped off the map. And I think that's just as likely of a possibility
It is.
as peace.
It is. And if Iran has a nuclear warhead, definitely is a likelihood or a extreme possibility. But if you put those two up against each other and let them just have a fist fight, which is just troops on the ground, Israel's going to win every time.
Of course.
Yeah, and a lot of it, their troops are excellent, but their air force their air power is pretty impressive. I mean, they same systems that we have, and they cross train. They work with our own pilots. I think they're the only other pilots probably. And I wish we had Eric on. I could probably ask him stall, but as far as comparable to, I mean, we have the best air force by far. Have you seen Top Gun? Have you best Navy aviators? I'm kidding, but the best aviators. I shouldn't say Air Force, the best aviators, but Israel is right up there. They just don't have as many. But yeah, you're not when you have air superiority, you're not going to lose a war. You never will. It might be a stalemate because it might go on for years, like Afghanistan, when you can hide in caves and you have that arduous terrain. And also you aren't allowed to go in there and just blow the living shit out of them because back here it's not politically acceptable. But Israel, that's one thing they're not hindered by that. And that's one thing I have seen and I sort of admire is they don't care what the media says. They give two shits.
You
And
know
we're
what?
gonna,
Maybe,
do
but
you,
I also would
if
say
you think they do, man? I don't think
yes,
they
I'll tell
do.
you why. It's funny that we were talking about YouTube earlier. Every time I'm on YouTube now, there's ad campaigns like for Israel voiced by Netanyahu about like why we need to do something about Iran. So I think they're spending probably millions and millions and millions of dollars on
I'm saying
PR right
they
now.
don't listen like we do, like when the media says, "Oh, we shouldn't be doing this." They don't listen to the hearts and minds that stop us from moving
Yeah,
to
I
a
guess they
past the
spend
where
so much on
we're
PR that doesn't seem to work.
because that's what I think that's what we're saying the same thing though. Are we saying the same thing or are we not?
Well, I mean, if they didn't care what people thought, then why are they spending so
Oh,
many millions on
to push.
PR?
No,
Like,
you're right.
what's
It's
the
that
point if
I got you.
that's your
I got what you're
feeling?
saying. So they're pretending they care, but they really don't give a shit. But they're putting it out there because
I
they're
don't
like, okay,
know.
well, at least we can say we did something. But behind the scenes, they're
I don't
going,
know.
well,
I
we're
mean, I
going to go
do
out
think
there and
they're
we're going to go
trying to.
blow the shit out of this building.
I do think they're trying to sell the public on doing something about Iran, and you have a public who doesn't want the U.S. involved in any more wars, myself included. Um, but yeah, I kind of do think they care. I mean, they spend a ton of money on campaigning. There's people I've worked with who are paid money by Israel to basically do positive advocacy. People I've worked with in radio. So I mean, if they don't care, they're spending a lot of money on PR.
Well, fair enough on that argument. I just I guess mine was more of it was a compliment more than it was a negative.
Yeah.
With us, we'll push up to a line but we will never and a lot of veteran will tell us we'll never finish the battle because if we do, there might be collateral damage. There might be something that might hurt a political leader as far as just their name may not get reelected, or a lot of times it's just hearts and minds. When we're not going to push past this, even though it's going to allow like a ceasefire. It's going to allow ceasefires against the Taliban, Al Qaeda never worked. It never did because you had the ceasefire because we beating the shit out of them. Oh, we need a ceasefire. You guys are we're gonna come to the table. We're gonna come to the table. They just would go they heal themselves. They go rest and refit is what we call it. And that's what I was getting at more than that. It was a positive thing about Israel's army is that they don't stop unless the U.S. stops in like we did and say, hey, you guys need to knock it off, which is a good thing if you're a guy on the ground because you want to go finish the battle, finish it, knock him out, whoever the bad guy is, wipe him out, and then go home. If you don't, it's like a virus or you kill a little virus with all the little amoebas, all the little organisms in there, except for a couple, but then they replicate again. And so you
Yeah,
end up fighting them again. That's
that's
Afghanistan.
but that's always going to be the case too. I mean, you're never going to kill all the terrorists. I mean, this goes back to something when I remember when I interviewed Dan Hampton, Air Force pilot, um, but how he said the U.S. is very good at terrorist whack-a-mole, like we're very good at killing
Yeah.
these bad guys, but then they just pop back up.
Yeah.
And as he said, and it is true, that at some way we need to find a way to make the ideology of terrorism not cool. As ridiculous as that sounds, but it's true. Like for a lot of these guys who become terrorists, it's their only hope. Like that's all that they could become. That's what they see the future So the ideology itself needs to be wiped out. But like, I mean, you see what Israel's doing. Do you believe a year from now there aren't going to be more and more
No, hell no.
terrorists?
No,
Like,
they're
so I mean,
it's
I mean, what does it
impossible.
mean to wipe out all the terrorists? It's just not. It's not a
It's
possible
not going to
thing.
be, no, you're right. It's not feasible. It's not possible at all. That will never happen because that may be the only thing they have left to do or the only thing they can do, but it is cool to some.
Yeah.
It is. And if you being a martyr and having your how many virgins? Well, I can't remember, 27, 28, or whatever. But that is real. And you're right. It will never end. It will never happen. So we're talking about getting the ceasefires and it never any fighting. Well, we've just come to the conclusion that, and I'm sure a lot of other shows have as well, that there will always be fighting. It
Oh
just will
yeah,
always be there.
yeah. But I think what the U.S. is doing right now does make sense, and
I
I
do
don't
too.
think Trump
I
is a
do.
guy who wants to see a World War III. And like I said, I appreciate him speaking candidly. And when he said, once again, his words, these two countries have been fighting so long that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. When he said that, it's going to piss off everyone on both sides, and I think it's
He's
necessary.
spot on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for
Trump,
anybody who
one
says
thing
I
would
just bashed Trump on the podcast or something, I'm telling you right now, like there are many times I agree with them, this being one of
this
them.
is and
I
that's
think people don't like when I'm giving an objective opinion, right? Yeah.
well, that's there we now we're going back to our parameters. Where's
Yeah.
our parameters? But with Trump and we've always guys that we do the veteran, the military person, the military soldier, seaman, airman, Coast Guardy, whatever, flyboy, whatever you want to say, or we can't say flyboy. We didn't. I gave
I've never
General
heard that,
Griffin a
so I
little
don't
bit of
know.
crap on that, man. What? Come on, it's the boy. It's a gender neutral term for those that have served with women. Believe me, they don't get offended when we say, "Hey, the boys are coming." They don't say, "Oh, I'm a woman." Actually, they see it as a positive. But that's a whole nother. That was
I don't
another
know anything
article.
about it, but
I'll tell you about it
okay.
anyway. But no, he does what Ronald Reagan did. You mess with us or you mess with our ally, and it looks like you're going to hurt us. We're going to come in there. We're going to smack you in the face hard. Then we're going to say, okay, go back to your business and leave us alone. Don't do it again. And Trump did that in Mosul when ISIS was in Mosul. He just perfect. He did that when they were starting to overrun. The last time I was on Newsmax because I said Trump was just doing his job. They wanted me to I wasn't going to kiss his ass. I would say Trump did his job when he flew the
Yeah.
Marines in to Baghdad when they were going to overrun the embassy there. That was the last one of the last interviews I did a long time ago. But they did it. He showed a force right there. Boom, punched him back in the face. He did it again, and that's what the soldier wants to see. That's what anyone that is on the ground wants is that commander that's going to just go in there and punch you in the face and then leave you alone and say, don't mess with us anymore. And then he restationed like 40,000 troops just in case Iran got froggy right before the ceasefire to show that we mean business. And that's awesome. That to me, that's inspiring as a soldier, as somebody that served. That's a commander that you always wanted to be with. You always wanted someone that is going to use you right, but he's not going to just leave you out there just to win hearts and minds because that's not what that's not what we're built for. So I'm with you, dude. I was very happy so far. Damn, you never know, man.
Yeah.
Things change in a
Yeah, by the
heartbeat.
time this goes up, it could be a totally
I
different
know, it can totally
situation. We're
different. Yeah,
recording this
you're
on
right. You're right.
Thursday,
But
guys.
I'm very happy, and if I was in charge, I would have done the same thing. And it's easy for me to say now because of what, but I would have. And it sucks because you got to take that chance. It sucks that you're taking a chance for the entire world that this could cause World War III. But what do? You sit back and you let Iran get nuclear warheads because that will cause a World War III. And it's just weighing those odds. And it sucks you have to play Russian roulette with the world, but it's the price you get for being the most powerful person in the world and having the most powerful military in the world. And the one that, even though we're not police power, sometimes we got to go in there like Big Brother and say, knock it off. And the only way you can do that sometimes is with bombs and force. But you just the good thing is he didn't send troops in, which is the worst thing you could do, is sending troops in unless they attacked U.S. facility, unless they actually attacked U.S. troops. Like if they would have come in and actually attacked and did anything to Qatar, like the Qatari air base, which from what
Yeah.
I understand was nothing
Yeah, as
really
of now,
to
I
speak
don't,
of.
they're not, they're saying no one was
Yeah,
killed.
then you do get that because okay, you did attack. It's just like attacking the Twin Towers. You hit the Twin Towers, you messed with us. Then you don't have to be a soldier. You're killing Americans. You kill a lot of Americans. Well, okay, we don't have a choice. We're gonna come in and beat the shit out you. You asked for it. But I'm glad that he didn't retaliate because he did. I think he did. I think he sit there and waited. Like, oh, if they hit the air base in Qatar, hit Doha, and Doha's a beautiful place. You should do security there. Then security in Doha, but if they would have done significant damage, I'm sure he would have used the troops, and we would have went in there and hit something in Iran. But like a good leader does, he's sitting back going, all right, let's see what happens. All right, we got our defenses up. Are we in place? And I'm sure Hegseth, I'm sure Pete did. Whatever Pete said about Fox, to this point so far, it appears to me he's done a great job as SecDef, just on the guys on the ground, just in that aspect, which is fine.
Well, except for the signal mishap.
Except for the
I
signal
don't think
thing,
that
which
was good.
dude, God, come on, you just don't take what happened to Hillary? Come on, Pete, you know that, man. But looking back and seeing that all those missiles come in and seeing minimal damage, it looked like the force protection was set up perfectly, which is great as you want that. And he said, well, you know what? They really didn't do anything to us. So, haha, but ceasefire still needs to go, guys. But we're not going to invade you. So just be blessed that you didn't have any you didn't cause any damage, or we didn't lose any American lives. So, yeah, I think it went well. I think everything is going as it should to this point. But like you said, Monday, who know, who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah, by the
Who
time this
knows?
goes up. Yeah, man, is there anything else you wanted to get into? I mean, I think that covers a
No, I
lot.
think I think I've ran my suck enough. It's
No,
already
it's all good.
5:40.
I mean, there's other stuff going on in the world. I don't know how much it's, like I said, doing the news. I've been up since 4 a.m. doing the
Well,
news
I
from
mean,
Salem, doing the same
talk
thing
a little because
tomorrow.
one thing, because you're going to Salem, and I do look at the news. I'm at my computer more now
Yeah.
because I'm home. So the first things that do pop up, I watch Fox. My Fox News, it does pop up on my feed, and the New York Post used to, but it's just too tabloidy, man.
Oh yeah.
This is way too. I mean, I don't watch it on TV. I don't listen to it. It'll pop up on my feed, and then every once in a while they'll have something good. Oh, you know what? I did want to ask you. This was from the New York Post. I didn't know.
Yeah.
What's up? Who's this? See, this is how in tune I am with the world and the United States, especially the East Coast. This Merrill, how do you say it?
Mayoral candidate or
Merrill Ray.
yeah.
The new mayor?
Yeah, I mean, this guy, Zohran Mamdani, that's what I was saying. That was like the other big news we're covering today. I mean, I'm just hoping what I think should happen is Curtis Lewa has no chance of winning this election. I think he needs to drop out and endorse Eric Adams. Eric Adams is not perfect. We're not going to love the guy. He's the incumbent. He's certainly better than Bill de Blasio.
Yeah.
I would give him that. And I think if everyone who is a moderate, who is a conservative, who's a right-leaning liberal could get behind Adams, we'll be all right. That's my
Is
feeling
this
on it.
guy as bad a socialist as what? I don't even know. I've
Yeah, I
never
mean
heard.
he's a self-described socialist, supporter of Hamas. Um, says
I mean,
he has said a lot of things that he doesn't have the power to do. Um, he's called himself an extremist. But yeah, I think I would like to see Sliwa drop out so that I think Adams should get another term.
man, I didn't realize it was with everything that we just talked about, and then you go out and you say you support Hamas,
Yeah,
and
he's
you have
working
a
with
chance to
Pear.
win an election. That just tells me how
Oh,
fucked
that's
up
that's like
people.
the number one thing in New York, though. I mean, I remember when Andrew Yang ran for mayor, and he was favored to win, and then Andrew Yang said, he was doing great in the polling, and then he said, "Yeah, been to Israel, love it there. I would even like to live there one day." Dropped in the polls dramatically. He was
Isn't
done
doesn't New
after
York have
that.
a big New York has a huge Jewish population,
Yeah, but
don't
it's a
they?
lot of anti-Zionist Jews.
So would they vote for this? I'm trying to
Some
figure
of
all
them
this
are.
out,
Some of
dude.
them are. I mean, if they're firmly anti-Zionist, yeah, this is their guy.
They're going to vote for Hamas. They're going to vote for people that are the group that kills Jews. They're going to vote for
Well,
that.
and he's not a member of Hamas,
I
but
know,
I'm
but they're
saying
going to
he's
vote for
worked
a guy
with
that
CAIR,
supports
he's
that.
worked
That's
with
just
groups who support Hamas. So,
that, that would be like Al Zawahiri coming and running for president or running for mayor or governor of Kansas. Al Zawahiri was a second in Al Qaeda. He
yeah,
had planned the attack for what happened.
we talked
That'd be
about him
like
on an
me saying
episode a
I'm going to
few,
vote for
yeah.
him for governor, dude. What the hell? It's just
Yeah, so
stupid.
I would hope I look, I don't live in New York City, so I
Yeah,
don't
you
get to
live on
vote
the island. Yeah.
regardless. I mean, we have a great county executive here who stands for like the exact opposite of that. Like we're the only county where it's illegal to wear masks. And I mean, they've literally arrested people for wearing masks because he's like, no, it's true. But we're not talking about like going to the grocery store. We're talking about like if you're out in the middle of the night and you look suspicious and you're wearing a mask,
Got you.
police officers will pull you
Yeah,
over,
makes
and
sense.
they have arrested like MS-13 gang members who are walking around with masks. So, I mean, it's been a good law.
Yeah.
I think our county executive Bruce Blakeman is the man. I really like the guy, but yeah, we're like the polar opposite. I mean, it's Tim Dillon always talks about like Long Island is like it's a totally different place than New York City, but all of us kind of commute there. Like I was there, the other day to do stuff for Salem. So I mean, we have a huge population that commutes there just to go to work. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, do I love everything about Adams? No, but I think he's done a considerably better job than De Blasio. I think he needs to form a coalition. I think people who are further on the right need to realize a guy like Curtis Sliwa has no chance. And you might say, I'm not going to vote for Adams. He's too liberal. But like, you're going to have to hold your nose and vote for Adams if you live in New York City, because
Yeah.
otherwise, this is who we're getting.
That's what I figured. I
And also,
figured as
by the
much.
way, I don't really, even though I can't stand this guy, I kind of don't fault anybody for voting for him over Cuomo. Because, I mean, Cuomo killed all these seniors with his COVID
Yeah.
policies.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was a good option either. And this may be a good thing because I think Adams is way more likely to beat this guy than to beat Cuomo. So I think as long as regular people in New York City who can actually vote, because I can't, get behind Adams, I think we'll be okay.
Man, how big of a sociopath do you need to be like Cuomo to think that I just killed a bunch of people and now I'm gonna go run again? I'm gonna go run for mayor. Seriously, you got to have rocks in your head to think that. I mean, how to think that he was gonna win?
But
I,
that's the whole thing. You're saying, how did this kid win?
there you go.
That's
I
who he
answered
was
my own
running
question. See
against.
how good you are, dude? You are
No, but
excellent.
that's who he was running against.
You
So,
are you
and
are
and a lot of the people
excellent.
voting for
There
him are
we
like
go.
college kids at NYU, like, yeah, socialism.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They're
Yeah.
not really New Yorkers, a ton of them. And I feel like a ton of the real New Yorkers kind of live here. A lot of us don't live in the city. The city by and large is like the ultra wealthy and like college kids. I mean, my friends who live in the city, like here is extremely expensive for rent, but there it's like next level absurd. I
Wow.
mean, you're not getting like a one bedroom apartment there for like under $5,000 a month. So who could live there?
Yeah. Yeah. That's wow. That's but you're right. You're spot on. You just answered my question. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he
that
wasn't
makes
running
sense.
against someone who's so like I said, it may be a good thing. And I do like the fact that Adams has bucked the party many times. And that's why he left the party. So I don't think Adams is like a hack.
I,
I don't love
because
the
I don't live
man,
there. I
but
don't know
yeah.
him well. He was former law enforcement, right? He was a
Yeah,
chief, wasn't
yeah.
he? If I had to pinpoint and just make a decision, just based not knowing socialism supports Hamas, police chief. Yeah, I'll go with the police chief.
Yeah.
To me, that seems pretty easy. But I don't. Like I said, I don't live there. I know there's other things that
Yeah, I mean, I
you're
think a lot
privy
of
to
people
that I'm not out here in the sticks. So
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the problem is a lot of people with your ideology, typically, right, are going to go, I'm voting for Sliwa. He's the only conservative in the race. And if he stays in the race, he's going to be a spoiler.
gotcha. Nah, I mean I don't know. I don't live there. I just
Yeah.
looking at it from afar. I don't see the ultra right guy. I didn't even know he was part of it. I didn't even heard that name for. I see those two. The only names I
Oh,
ever
come on. You
see.
know Curtis Lee. We used to be on radio, the guy who was the Guardian Angels. He's on
Oh
Fox News all the
yeah,
time.
the
He wears
guy.
the red
Yeah,
beret
with
with
the
the red
braid.
jacket. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the
That
whole thing. A lot of people love him, right? So that's
I
the
get.
problem.
Well, and that was. I used to love the Guardian Angel. I used to love
Yeah.
that. They were the t-shirt, the white t-shirts with the berets.
Yes.
That was like the cool. I wanted to be a Guardian Angel when I was little because
So
I
that's
said,
the
man,
thing. A
that is
lot
so
of people
cool.
like you are going to vote for him
No,
if
I'm
he
not. I'm
stays
not
in
if
this
he's not going to
race.
win, though. I mean, if he's
Yeah,
not going
that's
to
the
win,
problem. And I think
yeah,
a lot of people, like ideologically, I'm sure I'm more in line with him than Adams, but I mean, you just got to follow who's going to win. It's the same thing as when you vote for libertarian in a presidential
yeah, yeah.
race. You know they're not going to win.
And that's no, I'm with you. So, yeah, I mean, luckily I'm not in New York, but if I was, I'd probably be living where you live too. I wouldn't be living,
Yeah.
I wouldn't live anywhere near the city at all, or even
I mean,
farther
I'm
up
close enough, but yeah, I wouldn't
northwest.
want to. I mean, actually, just yesterday, being in the city in the subway in like 95-degree weather, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind. I mean, you can kind of
Done.
see this is a very peaceful place where I live. So,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah,
Well, with me, no, brother. Honestly, it just was that. I know. We'll hopefully get Eric Stahl on again. Eric got delayed, guys. Just so you know, he was our scheduled guest. Eric Stahl. He was a pilot that saved. I don't say saved us, but he came. The only U.S. aircraft that came to help us in Libya. But he flies for JetBlue, and they got delayed in Jersey today. So you got me and Ian. That's just how it goes, y'all. But only thing I've got a battle line course coming up here.
oh yeah,
Actually, I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna make sure. I've still got a couple spots open. But if you guys want to come, we always have a good time out here this time of year. But it's in the next
absolutely.
couple weeks. I always got to look. Man, I don't remember anything. Let's see. One day we got it on the 12th. Oh, is it? What's today?
Today's
Yeah,
the
the
26th.
12th and 13th. So
Nice.
one day a rifle, one day pistol. Come on out if you want. We're almost to capacity, but we've got a few. So I was just going to do 10 on one day, 10 on the other, as far as the number of students that we can have in or participants. But we've got 2 slots open on both days. But hey, guys, if you haven't been out here, if you want to come in here, it's zen. I mean, just for a
Yes, great.
weekend. Now, and if you like the city or you like a lot of things to do, yeah, you don't want to live out here because there's not a ton. But coming out for a weekend, you really do get to spend time
Yeah.
and it's just wonderful. And the tornadoes have started to subside, and they've also started to move east, which I guess we're not Tornado Alley anymore. They're starting to move farther, which is fine with me. But yeah, if you get a chance, come on out. We'll have a good time. Shoot some pistol, shoot some rifle. Other than that, man, all got Battle Line podcast till the end of next month. I'm home. I'm finally off, so it's great to finally be home and not traveling a ton again.
Awesome. Yeah, well, leave a review, guys, wherever you're listening. I see every now and again we get some good feedback on Spotify,
Yeah.
so appreciate you guys listening on
Thank you, guys.
Spotify.
Yep.
Haven't gotten a review on Apple Podcasts in a while. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, comment, like, wherever you're watching, listening, all that stuff helps the algorithm. And yeah, we appreciate it, guys.
That's all for this episode of Battle Line Podcast. But we're always posting new content on social media. Follow us on Instagram at Battle Line Podcast and on Twitter at Battle Line Pod. That's an order. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes up every Tuesday. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. Believe in yourself. Face all challenges head on. And as always, never quit.